have one question to Greg. Greg, what is you just mentioned one example. I think source code is one good example. Could you give maybe two more examples? What is DevOps data? What kind of information companies should also take care? And okay, I should take care of backing up this, for example, because if I have a catastrophe, it's something that I never thought about that I need to have some restoring operation.
Okay, so I'll answer your question and then I touch upon some important point that you brought up. So when it comes to the DevOps data in general, the source code is only a smart part of it. We have all the metadata that constitute kind of the summary of developers' work, history of changes that we made to our code, history of collaboration on this code. But we also have some specific settings that operate in our DevOps infrastructure. That can be our pipelines, our automations that we use to either deploy our code to the production environment or to integrate our code development with QA department. But also in many cases, those are some settings that are even related to security to some degree. For example, in GitHub, it's possible to back up branch protection rules, which allows us also to set up some security to our data. We are able to back up our teams and collaborators to define who can access what data. And this is something that we don't think as critical data in the first place, but we notice that when we miss it. And the same also with automations. Like they make our work every day that much faster, that much quicker. But if you would have to rebuild those automations from scratch, let's say that you've lost access to your GitHub account and you need to migrate to different GitHub account for the time being. Let's say even migrated from cloud to on-prem for the time being. Rebuilding out those automations that you have is tons of time from the DevOps engineer. Possibility to back up those and restore them streamlines your work massively. And important thing that you mentioned, Cassio, about the fact that company had backup in some way in this documentation, but it took them ages to restore it manually. I think it summarizes the most important thing about backup, in my opinion. The backup itself is not the rocket science. At the end of the day, making some sort of data dump is relatively easy. We can obviously improve how efficiently we do it. We can improve how we securely store this data, but this part is relatively easy. Important thing is what we can do with this backup next. So how we can restore the data. And in many cases, we are limiting ourselves and our imagination to only one simple scenario. I'm making backup of my GitHub project with a purpose that I want to restore it to GitHub. Okay, but what if GitHub has an outage? What are you going to do then? And then we come to the next disaster recovery scenarios that we should think about. Maybe I would like to be able to restore to completely different GitHub organization. Maybe I would like to be able to switch from cloud to on-prem at any time, or the other way around, like it should happen in Brazil right now. Maybe I would like to abandon GitHub for the time being and switch to GitLab because GitHub has an outage. Like, for example, in 2017, GitLab had an outage, the biggest in their history, that for some customers lasted 2 weeks. Imagine not being able to work in any way for over 2 weeks. That's horrendous. So you need to be able to be prepared for scenarios, even the most extreme ones, when you have the backup, but it's not about just having this box. It's about how quickly you can restore the data and to what platform. So thinking about backup strategy is more about how we restore the data rather than how we protect the data on its own.
Maybe you're going to agree with me. If developers would be 2 weeks not able to code, I would say that we are safe. It's less vulnerabilities going to production.
Unless we have a backlog of vulnerabilities to fix, no?
Yeah, like, okay, guys, we have a backlog on Jira, so let's work on them. Oi, gostou desse corte? Então te aconselho a seguir o perfil que tem muito mais conteúdo e também te convido a continuar o episódio completo na íntegra.